Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical L's network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. I'm your host, Steve Gill, and it's a oppressively hot day here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a little too early for upper 90s and heat indices in the 100. I mean, it's something like 105 yesterday. Way too early in the year for this. August is going to be unbearable. All right, so right now, first of all, I've got to mention the fact that Martin Mull, actor, comedian, songwriter, musician, passed away this week. He was originally born in Chicago, Illinois, but when he was 2 years old, he moved to Northridge, Ohio. He was a huge Cleveland sports fan and an even bigger Browns fan. He always said that all he wanted to do was line up for a field goal, kick the ball through the uprights with no time left on the clock for the Cleveland Browns. He even practiced, and he even told the Browns, "What do I got to do to make this happen? Steal the mascot?" So let's think about Martin Mull got his big break in 1976 in a quirky little sitcom called Mary Hartman. I loved it as soon as it came on the air. I wish Hulu would show it again. It's a great little sitcom. Billy Crystal is in it. It's just fantastic. So he also starred in Mr. Mom, another one of my favorite movies, Clue, which is an absolutely underrated movie for the ensemble stars, the cast it has. A lot of people wrote it off, but man, if you ever get a chance, watch Clue. Very good movie. So, rest in peace, Martin Mull. Big Cleveland sports fan, huge Browns fan. I remember they did an ad for NFL team apparel, and it showed him sitting in this really dark office type in a big high back chair, and he had his dog with him, and he was sitting there in a brown sweatshirt, and his dog had a brown sweatshirt on, and the thing was, "Not your everyday fan." That was the tagline. So rest in peace, Martin Mull. Let's hope we can get to the Super Bowl and you can watch down and help our kicker, Hopkins, to kick that last-minute field goal to win the Super Bowl. All right, so this time of year, there's nothing going on. We can talk about Amari Cooper. We can talk about Nick Chubb, although he's looking pretty good, but I'm still going to contend he'll be put on the PUP list. Let's not push it. What else is happening? They're talking about the stadium, of course. I still think it's going to be in Brook Park, and it's going to be Dome Stadium, and it'll be ready to go as soon as the lease is up with the Cleveland Stadium. I read some articles where a lot of plans and rumors are out there that they're going to build it downtown. It's not going to happen downtown. It's just not going to happen. Jimmy and Dee have already started digging the hole out by the airport in Brook Park. So that's where it's going to be. It's going to be a Class A dome stadium. So that's occupying a lot of people's time while we wait till the training camp. I believe it was July 22nd and 23rd is when first rookies and then veterans report. So we're getting there. We're getting close. Also, as you can tell, I'm wearing my Middle Tennessee Browns backers polo. This time of year is very important for Browns backer clubs and Browns backer presidents. I used to be one. I was president of Middle Tennessee Browns backers for about 15 years. It feels like it's a job, it's time to get out. So, but right now, Browns backers, presidents, and their board members, and yes, you do have to have a board member. You got to have a vice president. You got to have somebody take care of membership. You got to have a treasurer, and you got to have other ears and eyes on a board, on a board member. So you you don't lose your focus. You have other input from other people, which I always greatly appreciated. But if they already have their deal with their bars, then they will maintain in their bars. If for some reason they're no longer welcome, or they've moved on, or the club just got too big, they're out right now looking at bars and deciding. They're going to, if you're a Brownsbacker member, watch their Facebook pages. They will be shortly announcing where they're going to meet for the season. I will expect to get a nice little email from the Middle Tennessee Brownsbacker president, Ernie Nagy, later in July, telling us hopefully we're still going to be at the Nashville Palace, which is an extremely nice bar. And things work out in weird ways when you're a Brownsbacker president. Let's take a quick break, and then I'll tell you a few little stories about how it goes. We went through quite a few Brownsbacker bars. Middle Tennessee Brownsbacker started in 1988. And then the president, Joe Farmer, found a place over on the west side of town, and that lasted a year. Guy was, he was incompetent. So then we ended up in a place in Green Hills, and that lasted about a year and a half, because they didn't like us, because we actually wanted to see the game from the kickoff. You got to remember, back then, sports bars had these giant satellite dishes. And when you got one of these things, you could get a satellite guide, a programming guide that would tell you every show, every sporting event, where you could find them, the coordinates, where it all depends on where you live, which satellite, like, No Star G7, and will be at these coordinates for the NBC feed of the Browns-Bengals game. And that's how it went. You didn't just dial up Sunday Ticket. You had to actually look for, you had to find this. First of all, you had to find the satellite, and then you had to find the game. So, and this wasn't easy. Bars, we wore out our welcome with this place in Green Hills. I'm not going to mention it because they're still open, and we went back there again, which was another huge mistake. And it never worked out. They just didn't like us. I don't know why. We would come in on Sundays, and we'd occupy their second floor, and we'd buy a lot of drinks. We'd eat a lot of food, and we'd spend our money. And for some reason, they didn't like us. So we ended up at a place called the Boardwalk, who had tried to get us on Sundays because all they had was NASCAR, and they'd have like 7 or 8 people in there to watch NASCAR. And the bar owner, Rick, knew where his money was. And it wasn't a sports bar. It was more a music venue. But he could put 150 people in there, and he had a satellite dish. So he could pick up NASCAR, and also so he could watch his Green Bay Packers on one of the other TVs. And we loved that place. That place stayed our bar for a long time. And we had a blast in that place. And that's what it was all about. I mean, you got to think back to the origins of Brownsbackers. It's early 80s. We don't really know who started it first, either Southern California or Rochester, New York. In Rochester, they were tired of watching the Bills games. And in Southern California, they were tired of watching all the California teams. Each of them found a sports bar with a satellite dish. Each of them convinced the bar owner to show the games and promised they would pack the house. And that's how it all started. Art Modell and his son David saw a way to further make money off of it by coordinating with the Brownsbackers Club. We are the only the Brownsbackers are the only sports booster group that is affiliated with their team. And I'll give Art and David Modell credit for one thing. Keep your fans engaged and keep them, use them to spread the Browns games throughout the world, and they are throughout the world. There are about over 70,000 card-carrying members. There are over 300 clubs in 10 different countries, over 10 different countries. So it's apparently worked. And right now, like I said, Browns backers, presidents, vice presidents, and their board members are working hard to find a bar so they can get and watch the games together. And it's not just a bunch of guys getting drunk, Browns fans getting drunk. They support charities. They do work. Our charities when I was president was Toys for Tots. We had a couple members who were ex-Marines, and we picked that up. Nashville Humane Association, and Second Harvest, the Nashville Food Bank. We'd do can drives. We'd take money. We'd pick up stuff for the Humane Association. Myself, my wife, and a few others stood outside Toys R Us once to help the all day on a Saturday to help the Marines out so they could take a break and collect toys for Tots, which was great. But that's what Browns backer clubs do. They're not just a bunch of drunks sitting in a bar watching the Browns, although some do get drunk. I always tell people that I used to always tell my members, bring your kids because they are the future designated drivers of Browns backer club members. So that's what they're doing now. I used to do it. Sometimes it's like herding cats, trying to get all your board members in one place. And it'll take all day. We used to do all day Saturday. I would take weeks to figure out what bars we're going to go to, plan it out, organize to meet someplace, and then we would just hit like 6 or 7 places, see what the place looked like. I was very good at envisioning how the crowd would work in these places. We accidentally once we did this. We came into a Steelers bar. They had a bunch of Steelers crap up, and some of us were wearing our Brown stuff, so we had a beer in there. I mean, we're not going to turn around and walk out. We're Browns fans. Hey, Steeler fans, we're on your turf. Get over it. So anyway, that's what's happening now while we wait in the quiet part of this season. So that's it for today. This has been the Cleveland Browns Dawgpound South podcast, part of the Fanatical L's Network, part of the Fans First Sports Network. We appreciate you watching, listening, following. As you know, we sometimes give away prizes, so that's a good way to, follow us. I was sorry that I didn't join the gentleman on Thursday night. We just had a new roof put in that day, and they finally finished about a little after 7. And I had a huge headache from pounding all day. Sorry, Bloody Mary. So, thank you for joining me. And everybody, go Browns.